All right. So, I told y'all last time that I thought today was the last day. It is not. We have one more class meeting. So we will have one more class meeting for this class, and then that's it. We all will not be meeting in this class for the final exam week. So whatever this final exam time is, by definition, I've given you time to study for somebody else's final exam. So spend it wisely. I wanted you all to read something out of chapter 14 on this book that we talked about a little bit about at the beginning of the year. Will this be on the test? What was this about? Okay, yeah. So we were talking about ethics, right? A little bit here. We've talked about ethics before. But I wanted you all to think about some ethical considerations as we're getting into final season. Why do I want you to think about this yet again as we start to think about getting into finals season?
To take accountability for your efforts that you did in each class.
Okay? What do you all have due for finals?
Papers.
Some of you have papers, projects, pardon?
A test.
Tests, yeah, big tests, right? Anything else?
Presentation.
Presentations. Presentations are a little hard to cheat on, although it's not impossible, right? Depending on how you have to submit that presentation, right? Right. Why would anybody in here be tempted to be dishonest during this time of the year? Stress. What else?
Grades.
Grades, which lead to stress, right? It's an easy way out. Pardon? Poor time management. That could be one, yeah. What else? Pardon? Fear of failing, yeah. Probably just about everybody has that, right? How many of you think college is high stakes for you? Yeah, it's probably not as high stakes as you think. Now, having said that, do you need to do well? Yes, of course. I'm not belittling it. I know people who have gotten into medical school with less than a perfect GPA. I know people who've gotten into dental school with less than a perfect GPA. I know people who've gone into law school with less than a perfect GPA. Do I have other examples on the other side of it? Yes, I do. I have people that did really well and didn't get in. Okay? But what I'm trying to tell you here is that if you blow your reputation, I guarantee you, you will not get in. How can you blow your reputation? You can cheat. And can they ever know that you cheated here? Absolutely, they can know you cheated here. Right? You all will be, everybody's tempted. I'm tempted to cheat. It's a human thing, right? It's a shortcut. Right? But we're people. We have to overcome those prime instincts that we have to cheat, right? Everybody in this room at some point has either been tempted or has cheated on something. We were all 5 and younger at some point, and we figured out that we could turn over the checker game and say, I won, right? You can do that. But that's not what it means to be an adult. So I want you to think hard about these ethical considerations, because this will live with you forever. Okay, I want to know that when I'm having my heart attack and one of you are helping me, that you are ethical, that you are not cutting corners, right? And so it is the easiest way to derail your dreams, hopes, and desires is to cheat. You can always retake a class. You can always do better. You can always go to a professor who's seen you grow and write a good letter of recommendation for you that will overcome minor little glitches here and there. I shouldn't say this, but I want to say it for dramatic effect. You cannot repair your reputation easily. It is easy if you fail in a class and you come back and you take it and you do really well, and you get a professor that says, they took it the first time, they didn't do so well. They took it the second time, they really figured it out, they did well, one of the best students I ever had. I've had people like that get into medical school. But if you have an XF on your transcript, I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. Your honesty, your character, the most important thing that you will have. What you are doing in college is high stakes, but society has placed a much higher stakes on it for you than is really there. Okay? So you need to kind of moderate your pressure a little bit. Do not let that pressure get so great that you are tempted to actually cheat. Okay? Now this talked about a variety of things, right? And I know none of you would cheat, right? But what were some of the takeaways from this? Was it trying to teach you how to get around cheating by cheating? No. I wanted you to know that we know that this happens as faculty members. It's very difficult to pull a fast one over on us. Okay, you may think at some point if you did cheat, oh, I got away with it that one time. Chances are the professor probably knew you did it. Probably themselves was just a little too lazy to actually put in the effort to go through the process. Okay? I've known of instances before where my students have cheated. Did I prosecute them? I've never prosecuted a student. Have I caught them? Yes, I've caught them. What did I do? I had a good talking to with them, right? I'll give you a perfect example. I had a young student taking my organic chemistry class back in the days when I was teaching it. We were using Scantrons and other things. And grades were handed out. I handed back all of the papers. And about a day or so later, this young student walks in and they said, I think the Scantron misgraded my grade. See, it marks it off here, but yet I marked this on the bubble. And I kid you not, I grabbed the Scantron and I started to walk over towards my filing. This is when I had everything in paper. And I said, well, let me get the copy. And I went to my filing cabinet and I got the copy. I turned around and the student was gone. I caught her, red-handed, for one question. One question. But that question was the difference between a B and an A. Risked all of that for one question. I had the paper in my hand. I knew it was. Called the student in, we had a conversation. I said, why would you cheat over this? Well, I want to get into medical school if I have a B in this class. I was not willing to totally jeopardize that student's future by turning them in for an XF. After all, they attempted to cheat. They didn't get away with it, right? We had a good talking to. The student actually did better on the next test, did great on the final, got an A in my class, and I wrote a very good letter of recommendation for. My point is that you're all capable of something like this, and we all need to fight that urge. This student was a good student and had just put so much pressure on herself to have that A on every exam. Do not put yourself in that situation. Do not put yourself in the situation on the other end of it where it's like, it doesn't matter. It does matter, right? There is some pressure there, but don't put such pressure on there that you think that you can't overcome a little hiccup here and there in the road. What else did you learn about in the reading? Obviously, there's cheating on the exam. We covered that one. Lying about excuses. Right? That's probably one of the easiest ones that everybody thinks about doing. Oh, I missed the class. Maybe if I just tell them I wasn't feeling too good, but I was really at the mall. Is that cheating? In the strictest sense, it is not cheating. Right? It's not an assignment, right? But it is unethical, right? I would much rather use a student come to me and say, you know, I just had a day. I didn't show up. I'm sorry, right? Than to lie to me about it. And I can tell you, my wife caught somebody in this boat one time. It's actually kind of funny. I won't pick on the student too much, but the student had reached out to my wife and said that they had been in the hospital and had an excuse and needed to make up this coursework, and it was right before spring break, so class was still going on. The student claims they were in the hospital, and they had a note from the hospital, and they had a note. And it turns out that the note had, of course, the student's name on it, right? And they noticed my wife noticed that she had read something in the local Hattiesburg American newspaper about this student on spring break. And the student was actually in an airplane, a small airplane incident, and is actually in the hospital during spring break, not during the week before. They had just taken off the week before, and they were gonna capitalize on this little airplane accident that they had to try to get to be able to do their stuff. Don't do that kind of stuff. We can find this stuff out, right? Do you all know what to do in the event that you miss an exam? Contact your professors, contact the Dean of Students office, right? There's all of that stuff that you can do. Things happen, right? We know that things happen. There are excused absences. There are ways to make up your exam, etc. So always take an honest approach, as it says here. Okay? Very difficult to do these days, but back in the day, people used to send people in to take exams in their place. How many of you are in large classes? Yeah, pretty easy to get lost in the shuffle, right? I actually had a student that did this one time. I'm like, I only see this person here during exam day. And it turns out I emailed the student and a different student showed up. The person that was taking the exam was not the person that was registered for the class. And so that created a problem. I've actually had that happen before, right? I was a little upset about that one, as you can imagine, right? So don't do that. That's why now when I do exams in large classes, students have to show me their ID. So everybody gets punished and has to do all this stuff because of dishonesty. How many of you are in classes where you do have to show your ID when you turn in an exam? Okay, some of you, maybe, yeah. Make sure on exam day, final exam day, take your ID with you, just in case, okay? It's a good habit to be in. What else? So what happens to students if you happen to do unethical things? What's the easy one?
Academic integrity.
Pardon?
Violation. Academic integrity violation.
Yeah, that's right. You can get an academic integrity violation. You get an XF on your transcript. Is that XF necessarily permanent? No. It can be removed under certain circumstances. So keep that in mind. If you find yourself in that situation, I hope you don't, but if you ever do, know that there are ways that you can work out of that and stay on track. Okay? But what's the worst part if you get caught doing this?
Suspension.
Suspension? You think that's the worst part? It could be.
It will be on your transcript.
Could be on your transcript, so it could be permanent. It could be removed, but it could be permanent. What else?
You get like expelled or kicked out.
Get expelled. That's right. Those are all possibilities. What's the one thing you all are missing here? Then the most important piece. Pardon? Maybe not get it taken off. That's true. You're going to lose the trust of people who you need to trust you. Right? There's a relationship here, and it's built on trust, right? Some of you at some point may come to me and ask for a letter of recommendation. What do you think I'm going to focus on in that letter of recommendation? You think I'm going to really focus on your grade that much? No. Why not?
Because they know your grades.
They know your grades. You sent them your transcript. What am I going to say? You know, so-and-so got an A. Okay, we know that. So what am I going to focus on? Your character. I'm going to focus on your study habits or your parent study habits. I'm going to focus on how you may have overcome challenges in the classroom or in the work. I'm going to focus on your coming to my office hours or your working in groups, whatever the case may be. I'm going to focus on those things that won't appear on the transcript. Now, if I caught you lying to me, or even if I suspected you lied to me, how easy do you think it's going to be for me to, or willing I am to write that letter? I'm not going to be willing to write that letter. Right? I'm going to say, I probably better not be the one that writes that letter for you. I've only ever said that once in my life. Now, you can come to me and I can say, I can write a good letter, but I'm not the right person, I can't write a 3-page letter, right? I've only had you in a 1-hour class, I probably can't write a 3-page letter. I can write you a good letter, and if you're okay with that, that's fine. But if you're in my regular organic class, I could be like, yeah, we can write a big letter, because we do active learning, we do a bunch of other things along those lines, et cetera, et cetera. So, I wanted you to read this, not because I'm not trying to scare you into anything, I'm trying to make sure you're on the right track, okay? This is a stressful time of the semester for college students. You're finishing up your last exams, you're finishing up your regular classwork, papers, whatever, and you're having to prepare for finals. It is a stressful time. I recognize it as a stressful time, but please, if you find yourself being tempted to cheat, take a break, have a drink, whatever's your favorite beverage, and go relax for a moment, right? And then come back to it and think about it. Do you have a
No, sir.
Oh, okay. So, I wanted you to at least be familiar with all of that. So, the last thing I wanted to talk about is teaching evaluations. You all are going to be given an opportunity. Many of you have already probably received your invitations to complete course evaluations. I want to go through these not because I'm trying to rig the system here, right? I'm not trying to do that at all. But I want you to understand what faculty think when they read these questions, so you'll know better how to respond. All faculty, with very few exceptions, take these seriously, okay? Not that they will look at yours, because number one, I won't know it's yours, right? Rarely do we look at one and just go anything, right? We look at the whole body of them. So, if you've got an axe to grind, there's other ways to grind an axe, not in the course evaluation, okay? So, we will have time next week, the week after, I guess, because next week's Thanksgiving. We will have, on our last class, I will allow time in class for you to complete your course evaluation.
Do we have class next week?
No, we do not.
It's off, right?
It's off because of Thanksgiving. But the next time we meet is what I should have said, which is the last time. I will allow time for you all to complete your course evaluations. How many have seen this so far? All right, so nothing too big there. We are looking to change this instrument a little bit. We've got some student reps from SGA, the Student Government Association, who are working with us. Some people think it's a little long. What are you all's opinions?
Agreed.
Yes.
A little long?
Yes.
All right, that's fair.
It's easy to say no textbook and course material is required and then no other questions. Otherwise you would be asked a lot more.
Okay. So there's, as we have it right now, right, question one, and then there's sub-questions there, right? So please indicate your level of agreement with the following statements. These are all about the instructor, right? Take those questions seriously. These are things that the instructor is going to think about, right? The instructor presented course material in a clear manner that facilitated learning. What does that mean to you?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
What does that first question mean? The instructor presented course material in a clear manner that facilitated learning.
They presented the information that about the subject to you in a way that sparked your interest and wanted you to learn more about it.
Okay. Do you think that means something different from you than it does for you?
I'd
Sparking
say-
your interest is different than sparking your interest, right?
Yes.
Okay. What else?
Coming to class was better than not coming to class.
Coming to class was better than not coming to class. Okay. So, one of the things that I like to show my boss when I'm showing my course evaluations isn't necessarily that I got high marks or medium marks or low marks in anything, but that I provided value to the student overall, right? And so you can't do that with just one question. That's why there's multiple questions here. Can we shrink it? Absolutely, we can shrink it, right? But, so we've got these questions, grade and be consistent according with the evaluation criteria outlined in the syllabus. Syllabus has the grading scale, that's a pretty straightforward one. Was responsive to me individually, right? So if you've sent me an email and I've sent you an email back, I responded, that should get, reasonable. What I will tell you is if you got an axe to grind and you mark everything as strongly disagree, most people ignore that. It could be true, but most people ignore that. Try to make sure that every question is on its own merits, not on your personal feelings about things. Lectures, discussions, and/or demonstration focused on the material outlined in the syllabus. Okay, were we doing in class the topics that we said the class was about? That's really what that gets at. Helpful when I had difficulties or questions. Okay, demonstrated the importance and significance of the subject matter. If a faculty member walks in and just comes in, throws down something, and talks for 50 minutes and then walks out and just says, I've covered the material, is that good? Some of you might even prefer it, right? There's all this active stuff, he's asking questions all the time. I'd like to just sit here and hear what he's got to say and then I can leave. Some people are that way. Answer it honestly with how you are, but the significance of the subject matter, this is an important one, okay? We use some of this information to show that we do not do what's called correspondence education, especially if you're in an online class. All right, so one of the things that we have to show is that there's actually student-instructor interaction. That doesn't mean that it's live interaction, but that there is interaction, okay? Created an environment that was conducive to learning. What does that mean to you all? What does it mean to create an environment that is conducive to learning?
Class was not disturbed.
Class was not disturbed?
I'd say that it involved many of your senses, like you weren't just talking to us, we weren't just listening, you were showing us, you were, like maybe if you brought something to class, like let us smell something, like just involve as many senses as possible to
Okay.
really retain.
So, using multiple forms of active learning in a way?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? What would be an example of an environment that is not conducive to learning?
Bar.
Bar?
Sitting in a bar. and
Sitting in a
studying.
bar, we're not gonna do that one. But in this classroom, if I came in here, what could I do to make this a bad learning environment for you all? Pardon? If I started playing a song?
You didn't address us.
If I didn't address you?
Or like you weren't, like, you just kinda had a demeanor where you weren't open to questions or something like that.
Okay. How many people have walked into a class where y'all were just kind of intimidated about interacting with the faculty member? Right? Where does that come from? I can tell you now that every faculty member will say, I think I'm approachable. Right? But when we come in, I'm 53 years old almost, right? Got some age on you, got some experience. I've been through college, I got my PhD. I could come in with quite the swagger of, look what I've accomplished, right? I could put you off that way, right? I hope I haven't done that. But we have earned this, and sometimes we let it go a little too far, right? And so that can create an environment that's not particularly conducive to learning. Because at some point I was in your shoes and I enjoyed having conversations with my faculty, right? Faculty members. Instructor encouraged students to ask questions and participation. Right? I'm sure you have some classes where you're like, it was really a good experience, I learned a lot, but we were just covering a lot of material. Right? And they're really wanting a lot of questions and answers. It's okay to mark that one a little low. I would go to my boss and I would say, yeah, I was covering a lot of material, right? And that's okay. But questions and participation is very important. We're getting that active learning kind of stuff. Creating a course environment respectful to diverse viewpoints. Is every class gonna have a major component in that one? Probably not, right? In our science classes, our math class, we're talking about 4 plus 4 is 8. Who's got a different viewpoint on that, right? 4 plus 4 is 8. There's certain classes that are more factual. But there are also more classes on campus that are more humanistic, right? You're in your humanities classes. They're going to talk about things that might make you feel uncomfortable, that aren't quite aligned with your culture or your personal beliefs, right? But did that faculty member, while we were having those difficult conversations, create an environment in which you felt safe to have those conversations? You are not here, nor am I here, to make everybody agree with me, right? But we are in a space where we should be agreeable to disagree, right? If we disagree on things. Now, that's not the case in this class. It's not going to be the case probably in your math class, but maybe in your English class, maybe in your philosophy class for sure, if you're in one of those. You're going to be talking about things that maybe you look at and think, that's not how I was brought up. That's not how I think about things. This is a different viewpoint. And I'll tell you a perfect example of that for me. When I went to the University of Arkansas for the first time. So I'd already gone to junior college. I went to the University of Arkansas. This was the end of the Cold War. I was raised in a time when we really thought that the Russians were going to nuke the heck out of us every day, right? We lived in that fear. That was real. And I remember the first time I was invited to go hear somebody from Russia speak. And I thought, why would I want to hear anything from that evil? Right? That's how I was, but it was an interesting, eye-opening experience for me. It really expanded my horizon when I went there and realized, you're a scientist. You studied the same things I studied. You believe largely what I believe. You know, you wanted to study and learn, and that was a great experience for me. But it was a safe environment to do that, right? So that's important. I was in an environment that was respectful with those diverse viewpoints. So things that I hadn't grown up with. All right. Again, agreement with other things. This one more course related. This is about your assignments, your lectures, understanding of the course objectives. Where can you understand the course objectives for your courses? The syllabus, right? Improve my understanding of the concepts and principles in the fields. The instructional materials, increase my knowledge and skills in the subject matter. Course assignments, help facilitate my learning. As a faculty member, I will take that information in and I will digest it as a whole. So for example, on the course assignments and stuff that facilitated the learning, I will look at that if that gets scored low, and I will start thinking about, well, what could I have done differently to make that better? Okay, so your course evaluations, in a way, are paying it forward. Remember, you're in a class now that was largely shaped by people before you, right? And so this is how this whole system works. So make sure you answer all of those. We take those quite seriously, I can assure you of that. Student self-evaluation. What do you think about this set of questions? I'm interested in your opinion. Having to confess that you attended class regularly, it's kind of telling on yourself, isn't it? I was consistently prepared for class. I'm satisfied with my effort. I reached out for help when I needed it. I was able to meet my course expectations. Why do you think we're asking you all to self-reflect on this course evaluation? And do you think it's important?
Depending on what the student put in, if they put in a lot of work and then they still said negative things about the class, then it gives more value to their opinion. Whereas if they're a student who doesn't show up and they don't complete their work and they don't care, then whatever they say about the professor, it gives intel if it's a biased opinion or not.
Okay. All right. What I can tell you is faculty will never have access to the individual ones. We will never be able to go, Taylor did this, and then she wrote this. I may not know your name, but I wouldn't be able to say this student, it's all aggregated. So we can't really parse that out, right? But what is important here is, yes, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, if you're unhappy with your grade, that you can I guess self-reflect on them, not what she said, the amount of effort you may have put into it, or if your grade reflects the amount of lectures that you went to.
Yeah. So when I'm teaching my organic class, I'll tell you, when a student says, I spent an hour a week or less, I'm sitting there wondering, what could I have done to inform the student of the effort that is required to be successful in this class? Have I done everything I can do to really show what the expectations of effort are? Not every 3-hour class requires the same effort. Would we all agree with that? Right? You all can have a 3-hour chemistry class that will likely take more effort than a 3-hour in humanities. And that's not poking at the humanities. Got a lot of good friends in the humanities. But the one set of skills for a class is very different than the other. And that's just the way that it is. And I can also tell you that it was exactly the opposite for me. I found that the time I spent in my science classes was probably less because I was really good at it. But reading Chaucer, I had to struggle. I had to spend a lot of time, okay? And I'll admit I even used Cliff's Notes, okay? So, that was what was happening back in the day, right? And so, keeping that kind of stuff in mind. But the student self-evaluation, should it stay or should it go if we were to make some changes? What do you all think? It should go.
I think it should be like set separate. I don't think it should be included in the course evaluation.
So you think it should be a separate evaluation that we ask students to do?
Or like, it's like a personal thing. I don't think it should be included in like the course evaluation. I feel like that's just something for the students to think about.
Okay. So I hear you. How do you know, there's an old saying, and it's probably not that old, you know, people don't do optional. And everybody likes, you know, it's true, right? So how could I get a student to self-reflect on this?
Extra credit.
Extra credit. Everybody likes extra credit. Is that worth extra credit? Yeah.
If it's extra, then it's worth it.
If it's extra cost extra? Right. I got it. All right. So these are all kind of self evaluation. What I can tell you for this class, you know, I want you to answer in question 5, on average, how many hours do you spend a week on this? Be honest. I know this is not my organic class. You know, if you tell me on average you spent a small amount of time, I'll get that. I'll understand that. And I'm not looking at that to go, how can I make it harder? No, I'm not looking at that at all. Right? Just be honest with your faculty members. Because we also know that you have other classes, right? And if we're finding out that our assignments are really taking you more time than we think about on average, we need to know that kind of information so that we can dial back the next time. Or maybe increase, whatever the case may be. Okay. What grade do you expect to receive in the course? Keep it or get rid of it? Keep it?
I say get rid of it because sometimes you fill out these things before even the course is over, so you might just like completely just bomb the final. So I just feel like if you're filling this out a week before the final, I just don't feel like it's necessarily fair to evaluate yourself in that sense.
Okay. I have to admit, this is not one of my favorite questions. It's one that when we built this instrument, I was like, I don't know, but faculty's insisting, no, they need to, it needs to be part of their self-reflection. Okay, I'm not gonna fall on my sword over it, but
What are those grade options like after F, I, and M?
F, so an I is incomplete. NP is no pass, pass, satisfactory, and unsatisfactory. Most of these are going to be for graduate courses that just happens to be on the same instrument. So this is the grading scale that we have at the institution. What you'll notice, however, is for, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. At the undergraduate level, we have A, B, C, D, and F, right? We don't have A minus, B plus, but we have them up there. Why do we have them up there? Because graduate programs have A minus, B plus, B minus, so on and so forth. So it's just pulling out of the system what we have. Now, question 7 and question 8. This is probably where I should have spent most of my time. What are 1 to 3 specific things about the course and/or instructor that help support student learning. We take these seriously. These are where you get to type things in. Be constructive. If you think they did a great job, you can say they did a great job, but be constructive. If there's something that can be done better, let us know, right? And so, what did we do to help support your learning? What could we do better? Don't feel like you need to write a book. Keep it short, keep it simple. I have seen some students at the institution write paragraphs after paragraphs. And I'm like, if you would have spent that much time studying, you probably wouldn't have had this axe to grind. This is not a place to grind axes, is what I'm saying, okay? This is a place to help promote all of that. Good stuff. Textbook questions, we're not gonna worry too much about those. Most of those I think are probably gonna go away in the update. So there's all of that. Let's see, today's little activity in the last time that we got. How many people we got in? 1, 2, 3, 4. So get into groups of about 4. So you 3 on the back plus 1 of you, and kind of work your way around. I'm gonna pass out these little boxes. Do not open the box. Do not open the box. So you 3 and maybe you. You 3 and 1 of you. You cannot see what's inside. So come together.
Let's try to find out what is it inside. I'm not very sure.
You all can do anything that you want to the box except open it. But your assignment is, in the next 5 minutes, to figure out what's in. You don't have one?
To figure
Come on down
out
here.
what is inside. Yeah.
This one. We got 3 here. Y'all come down here. That'll work. We got 2 here. Yeah. You 4 being 1. You 2, and you 2, and then you all. Yeah. So you 2, you 2
No, it's one.
be in a group. And then you
Okay.
1.
5 be in a group, and that'll work.
Can I move that back and forth slightly?
It's like today, I think it's a rolling thing. I think it's
Somebody's got to touch the box, folks.
marbles. Marbles, small, round ones.
You 4 are going to be together. You 2, you 2. You 5. Yep.
Anything related to today's topic?
You said we can't do anything but open the box.
You cannot open the box, but you can do anything else you want. You can roll it around, you can smell it, don't lick it.
Or no?
Well, you can't see inside, I think, anyway. Don't take the tape off.
It's density piece, more heavy than piece.
That'll work. That's legit.
Points, no, it will be visible. There will be beans. There I think it's beans.
Like dice.
Those things that you use in our class,
Smells like a box.
those little balls.
Like they can do like
Really?
notes.
I think that's not too bad. Definitely be that.
Everybody's got to touch the box.
Is it molecules?
Your assignment is to describe as accurately as you can what is inside the box.
I think it's like the.
Yeah.
But there's like tape. So it could be like, kinda like, yeah, maybe it's like.
Your note card is as always your name and ID number, but start to write on your note card what you wish you could do to the box besides open the box.
Next week.
Huh? I am not gonna tell you what's in the box to start with. You all will have a box revealing ceremony here in a minute.
Smell it. Smell anything? It smells like this because of the tape thing. Sniff it.
Anybody else need a card? Everybody got a card? What am I getting at with this little experiment here?
Science.
Making observations. What else?
Different techniques to solve.
An analysis. Pardon?
Different techniques to solve problems.
Different techniques to solve problems.
What do we need to write? What do we need to write?
You need to write what you need to write your name and ID number, and then you need to write what you think you would like to do to the box to figure out what's in the box without opening the box. And eventually you need to kind of write down at some point here in about 10 minutes, you need to write down what you think's in the box. What is the box a model for? What are we modeling here?
Molecule.
Maybe a molecule, okay? The unknown. Okay. Imagination, creativity. What else?
And lead.
Anybody ever played this game before? No? Imagine you were alive in 1850 and you had a question about how the universe works, how matter comes together. What do you think the box would be? Okay. We didn't know anything about atoms yet. We didn't know about what matter was made of. We were literally looking at a substance that we couldn't peer into any further, could we? And so we had to do manipulations. We had to see how the thing inside the box interacted with other things. What other things might we interact with? A magnet. What would a magnet tell us? How would we use that? Would we just put a magnet up to it? What would we do? Oh, okay, so maybe we notice that this thing moves and it seems kind of heavy, and so maybe it's metallic, right? So we put a magnet on it. Does it move now? Does it stick to the magnet? Yeah, we could do that. Now, surely not everybody thinks they have a bunch of metal in there. What else could we do? What you think? You think there's two things? Huh? Can you burn the box? Not gonna burn the box.
Yeah.
It's not mine.
But could we have burned the box back in 1850? In general chemistry, have you done the molecular formula stuff where you saw the combustion of hydrocarbons? And saw how much carbon dioxide and water was made, and then you could figure out what the molecular formula was? That's burning the box. Seeing what comes off of it. We are not going to burn my boxes. We can weigh the box. Does that tell us very much?
Weigh an empty box
If I could weigh an empty box
and then compare it.
and then compare it. Does anybody have an empty box? Nobody has an empty box.
That would come with the,
Pardon?
that would come with the scale.
Okay. But you're talking about weighing, what could we do? You can put it in water and see if it floats, you can calculate the density of the box, okay? Scale? Okay. So what if we all weighed our boxes, do you think they would weigh the same?
No.
Probably not. Do all atoms weigh the same? No. So a box is kind of a metaphor for an atom. You can see that you have an atom, right? But we don't know what's inside that atom. But we know something's in there. We know there's different things in there, right?
Like, there's be some rocks we found outside, 10 minutes ago.
Does anybody have any interesting thoughts that they can do to the box? Huh?
It could be.
Okay, can you? Hold it up to the light, can you tell anything?
No, it doesn't show.
You've already tried that?
It could be rocks.
Huh? A brighter light, okay. You used the phone's flashlight, it didn't do anything, huh? Alright. Do an X-ray? If we have an X-ray, right? So maybe we could all go to Forest General and throw it in the X-ray machine, see what comes out?
And then put it back in it for
MRI?
Yeah.
Yeah? Could do that
Endoscopy.
in the sky. What could we do to probe it? How could we pierce through the box? I said you can't open the box, but could you pierce through the box with the right tool? What might work for that?
Like a Dremel?
Like a Dremel? Yeah, we can do that, yeah. What else could we do? Maybe I could give you some long needles. You can go into the box and you can manipulate what's in there and see how it interacts. Right, we could do something like that. What else could we do?
Try to get the duct tape out.
Try to get the duct tape out? Okay. Maybe we could, set it out in the sun and let the duct, you know how eventually duct tape erodes and crumbles apart? It oxidizes, we could maybe do that and see kind of what's inside the box. Yeah. What else? I think you all kind of exhausted the possibilities. So take a moment and write down on your card what you think your box contains. Is this easy? It's actually quite simple. The tasks are quite simple. But coming to something about knowing something about what's in the box is hard. I want you to leave with this, from this class with one thing for sure. Knowing and understanding are two different things, and both of them are very difficult. To truly know something or to truly understand something is very difficult. That's gonna be a life lesson for you all forever. You all are gonna be faced with all kinds of things that you think you know, that you're gonna end up not really knowing. You're gonna be told by people that you know certain things that maybe you need to question, right? Think back to the box anytime you're in those situations. This is a great exercise for this. All right, I want my boxes intact, so I'm going to be the one to open the box. So let's look at the first one down here. So what did you all think was in the box?
Beans
Beads or beans?
or rocks?
Rocks?
Yes, bees and rocks.
Beads or rocks?
Yes.
Yeah,
Everybody kind of,
Dice.
4 die. But you thought there was how many?
Two.
Thought there were 2, so you thought that there was at least a multiple,
Yeah, multiple.
right? So hey, not bad. You knew that there were multiple of something in there. You did not suggest that it was metal by any stretch of the imagination. Very good. Are they right or wrong?
Yeah, wrong.
There is no right and wrong.
There is no right or wrong, right? That's the beauty of the scientific method. You had good data, you had good information, you made a good guess, called a hypothesis. We then were able to test the hypothesis, but the hypothesis was not correct. But yet there were pieces to it that worked. What do you all have down?
There's two items, one's like bigger and
One,
one's
two,
smaller.
smaller.
Okay, anything else about it?
I think the small one is like a plastic.
Think so? You had three of those little pebbles that you put in flower arrangements or whatever. My wife had some of these laying around.
And it listed them like two of them like together and then one was like it was back and forth.
Kind of hiding, wasn't it? Yeah, kind of flat on one side, which may have thrown off your, right? But you had some good points too, right? All right, very good.
All in one set thing.
All right, where's the next box? We got one over here. What do y'all think's in the box?
Like metal pieces.
Metal pieces.
I thought like a bell, like a little jingle bell.
A little jingle bell. Little game pieces. Do you all agree that they're metal?
Yeah, I think there's one like, yeah.
And why do you think they're metal?
It makes it like a little child. It's not flat like plastic and plastic.
Four metal screws. They got the metal part right. They got the multiple thing right. Right? But I can kind of understand why you thought it might be like a little bell in there, right? Kind of sounds like it when I jingle. Y'all probably can't hear that. So y'all came up with some very good observations. Right? Developed some good hypotheses. Where's the next one? What do y'all think's in the box?
Multiple small plastic beads or rocks.
Multiple small plastic beads or rocks.
Yeah, that's like a fish tank gravel.
Fish tank gravel. Interesting. Why do you think fish tank gravel?
It sounds like little pebbles.
Like little pebbles. Okay. Any idea how many? Maybe 4 to 6? Popcorn. About the same size as your aquarium pebbles, or whatever you were saying, right? 4 to 6, kind of off there, but definitely multiple. Right? Yeah, so y'all had some good insight on what was in the box. What do y'all think's in the box?
It's kinda like a bell, and then it's the higher, so if you do it slow, like you can feel it rolling, so it's like round or something.
Kind of round or
But
something?
then it's flat on one side.
And it's flat on one side. You think it's a fishing weight? Why do you think it's a fishing weight? Because it sounds like when you've heard a fishing weight before, so you've got some kind of comparison there, right? Let's see what it is. It's actually a bolt with a washer in between. So it is flat on one side, isn't it? How did you come to that conclusion?
Rolling it around.
Rolling it around, you'd find that it would roll in one direction but maybe stumble in the other? Okay, yeah, very good. Very good. I would argue I can actually put this on a fishing line and probably use it as a fishing weight. Sounds probably very similar, right? You all just experienced the scientific method. None of you were wrong, and yet none of you were 100% right. That is the scientific process. You all made observations. You recorded those observations. You proposed ways in which you could have probed it. You all came up with some very good ideas, right? A magnet. Some of these things, a magnet would have told us something else. And, you know, we have magnets today. We could have done that. I would argue that an X-ray, if we could go do an X-ray, you probably would have been able to guess with a much higher level of accuracy. But even if we X-rayed it, would all of you have been able to guess correctly, you think? I would argue, probably would have guessed the bolt pretty well, probably would have guessed the screws pretty well from an X-ray. Popcorn, I could have probably still come to the conclusion that it's, what'd you call it? Fish tank pebbles, yeah, right? But I would have had more information, right? And so that's why in chemistry and in other sciences, there's always more than one technique to probe something. Right? You're gonna learn a lot of techniques as you go throughout your class work here. And you'll be like, well, we've learned that technique, what's one more? Well, not every technique's gonna give you everything you need to answer the questions that are before you. You know, X-ray would have worked for some. You know, I would have argued that with your 4 die, the X-ray would have probably told you you had something that looks like a square, but maybe not like a little box, and certainly not with the little dots on the side of the die, right? Which one did you all have? The little glass beads, yeah. I don't know that we would have, from an X-ray, been able to figure out that it's glass beads. Probably could have figured out a number of round little something, you might have said marbles. But that would have been awfully close, right? And so, this is a game I like to play every year with this class. I have fun with it. I hope you all had fun with it. It is kind of a way to experiment without actually getting into the lab and doing real experiments. But as you all progress in your undergraduate careers here and you get into the lab, remember that the labs we have given you are canned labs, but somebody originally had to look in that box, right? And so when you get into your actual research part of your program, you're gonna be able to really experience what real research is like. You're gonna be given problems that nobody knows the answer to, and you're gonna have to figure out how to look in that box. And by the way, it's very difficult to just look at an atom, right? And so how we interact with matter is how we know what it is, and that was the whole point of this experiment. Did y'all have fun? All right. On your way out, turn in your cards. I want you all to have a great Thanksgiving holiday. Enjoy it, be safe. I will see you the week after. Come with your devices ready to answer your course evaluations. Best of luck to you all for the rest of the semester.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, whenever you gave us the opportunity to get our grade changed for the thing a while back,
The semester by semester guide, I have not entered that in.
okay, okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah, I'm a little behind.
Thank you.
Apologize on that.
Have a good day.
You too.